Alex and Maddie were a power couple, driven by their ambition to succeed in their respective careers. They had it all: a beautiful home, two adorable children, and a thriving business. Their son, Jack, was a bright and curious 10-year-old, while their daughter, Lily, was a stunning 8-year-old with piercing green eyes and long, curly blonde hair. Despite their outward success, Alex and Maddie's relationship with their children was strained. They were always busy, attending meetings, conferences, and networking events. They would often leave their children in the care of nannies or babysitters, only to return home late at night, exhausted. As a result, Jack and Lily grew accustomed to fending for themselves. They would spend hours alone watching TV, playing video games, or wandering around the neighborhood. Their parents would occasionally take them on lavish vacations or buy them expensive gifts. But the children craved something more valuable: attention. One day, as the school year drew to a close, Alex and Maddie found themselves busier than ever. They were in the midst of launching a new business venture, and their schedules were packed with meetings and deadlines. As a result, they began to neglect their children's needs even more. They would often forget to pick them up from school, leaving Jack and Lily to wait anxiously for hours. The children would try to call their parents, but they would be too busy to answer. Eventually, the school administration grew concerned and warned Alex and Maddie about their neglectful behavior, but the couple didn't listen. They were too caught up in their own world to notice the harm they were causing, and so the children continued to suffer. One fateful day, as Jack and Lily walked home from school, they were approached by a stranger. The woman, who appeared to be in her mid-30s, offered them candy and asked if they wanted to come with her. Jack, being the cautious one, hesitated, but Lily, trusting and naive, took the candy and followed the woman. The next thing Jack knew, he and Lily were being dragged into a van and driven away. They were taken to a remote forest, far from the city, where they were held captive by a group of ruthless individuals. The kidnappers, it turned out, were part of a sinister organization that preyed on vulnerable children. They planned to use Jack and Lily for ritualistic purposes, a fate worse than death. Meanwhile, back in the city, Alex and Maddie were frantic with worry. They had realized their mistake too late and were now paying the price. They reported their children's disappearance to the police and launched a social media campaign to spread the word. They posted pictures of Jack and Lily on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, pleading with anyone who had information to come forward. They also offered a substantial reward for any leads. But as the days turned into weeks, there was no sign of the children. Alex and Maddie were beside themselves with grief, regretting their neglectful behavior and wondering if they would ever see their beloved children again. They spent every waking moment searching for their children, scouring the streets, talking to witnesses, and following up on leads. They barely slept or ate, their minds consumed by the thought of their children's fate. As the weeks turned into months, Alex and Maddie's relationship began to fray. They argued constantly, blaming each other for their children's disappearance. They couldn't bear to look at each other, the guilt and regret etched on their faces. But then, one day, they received a call from the police. A patrol car had spotted two children matching Jack and Lily's description on the side of the road, near the forest where they had gone missing. Alex and Maddie rushed to the hospital, their hearts racing with anticipation. When they arrived, they were met with a sight that would haunt them forever. Jack and Lily were lying in hospital beds, pale, thin, and bruised. The doctors told them that the children had been through a traumatic ordeal, but they were alive. Alex and Maddie were overjoyed, but their relief was short-lived. Lily's condition was critical. She had suffered a severe case of dehydration, and her blood pressure had skyrocketed. The doctors did everything they could, but it was too late. Lily's body had been pushed too far, and she didn't survive. The couple was consumed by grief, regret, and guilt. They realized too late that their neglect had almost cost them their children's lives. They vowed to never again take their family for granted and to always prioritize their children's needs above their own ambitions. As they mourned the loss of their beautiful daughter, Alex and Maddie couldn't help but wonder what the future held for them. Would they be able to heal and move forward? Or would the pain of their loss forever anchor them in guilt? The funeral was small and intimate, a painful contrast to the lavish events Alex and Maddie were known for. No grand displays, no elaborate speeches, just a quiet gathering of family and close friends, all of whom had witnessed the couple's relentless pursuit of success at the expense of their family. Jack stood silently beside his parents, clutching a framed photo of Lily. His once bright eyes were now shadowed with sorrow, a reflection of a childhood lost too soon. After Lily's death, their home became a hollow shell. The laughter that once echoed through the halls, though rare, was now replaced with suffocating silence. Jack would retreat to his room for hours, sometimes days, refusing to speak to his parents. When he did, his words were sharp and cold. "You were never there when we needed you. Now it's too late." Those words pierced Alex and Maddie more deeply than any insult or accusation ever could. They tried to bridge the widening gap between them and their son, but Jack had built walls too high to climb. Therapy sessions were suggested, but Jack refused to attend, convinced that no one could undo the damage that had been done. As months dragged on, the once power couple found themselves at a crossroads. Their business empire, which they had sacrificed so much for, began to crumble. Investors pulled out, blaming the couple's distraction and lack of focus. The house, once a symbol of their success, felt more like a prison, haunted by memories and regrets. Eventually, they sold it, downsizing to a modest apartment in hopes that a fresh start might ease their pain. But the grief followed them everywhere. One evening, as Alex sat alone in the dimly lit living room, he stumbled upon an old video on his phone. It was a clip of Lily's last birthday party. Her infectious giggle filled the room as Jack chased her around the garden. Maddie could be heard in the background, half-heartedly singing while checking her emails. Alex felt a lump rise in his throat, his vision blurring as tears welled up. He realized that in their quest for success, they had missed out on the most precious moments of their children's lives. Maddie, too, was drowning in regret. She often wandered into what would have been Lily's room, sitting quietly among the untouched toys and clothes. The guilt gnawed at her, and she found herself spiraling into depression. She blamed herself for not listening to the school's warnings, for dismissing the signs that their children were crying out for attention. One night, after a particularly tense argument about Jack's behavior, Maddie broke down. "I can't do this anymore, Alex. I can't live with this weight on my chest every day. We failed them. We failed her." For the first time since Lily's death, Alex didn't try to argue. Instead, he took Maddie's hand, their tears merging as they sat in silence, finally acknowledging the depth of their shared pain. Realizing that they couldn't mend their broken family alone, they reached out to a grief counselor, not just for themselves, but in the hope that Jack might eventually join them. It was a slow process. Jack remained distant, his heart hardened by betrayal. But over time, small cracks began to appear in his defenses. He would linger a little longer at the dinner table, respond with more than one-word answers, and even, on rare occasions, share a memory of Lily. Years passed, and while the pain never fully disappeared, the family began to heal in their own way. Alex and Maddie left the corporate world behind, dedicating their time to a foundation they created in Lily's memory, one that focused on child safety and parental awareness. They traveled to schools, shared their story, and warned other parents about the dangers of neglect masked by success. Jack eventually found his own way to cope. He took up writing, pouring his emotions into stories and journals. It became his therapy, his way of keeping Lily's memory alive. And though his relationship with his parents would never be the same, there was a fragile understanding between them, a silent promise that they would never repeat the mistakes of the past. Some nights, when the house grew too quiet and the weight of the past felt too heavy, Alex and Maddie would find themselves staring at Lily's photo, wondering what could have been. The cost of their neglect had been unbearable, but it had also taught them the most painful lesson of all. Moral lesson: success is meaningless if it comes at the expense of family. Time once lost can never be regained, and the most valuable investment a parent can make is in the hearts of their children. Material wealth can be rebuilt, but broken relationships and lost moments are treasures that, once neglected, may be gone forever. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in my next video. Bye.